Hi everyone, it's Kim. Thanks for joining me. Karen Burniston recently released a new collection of dies, which always makes for a great crafting day. Many of the dies are add-on sets that coordinate with a previously released die so that we can use it in other different ways than maybe it was originally intended for. So let's start with this one. The outside may not mean a lot right now, but let me open it up and show you what we have on the inside. We have a great cruise ship, something that sounds really good to do right now. You can see all the portholes, have a little anchor. This ship even has a pool and a slide in the back. Pretty neat. And to make this, we need the boat pop-up, which is the original die that came out. And when this first came out, there was also an add-on set to make a sailboat and a pirate ship, and now we've got the cruise ship. So we have basically 4 different kinds of boats or ships that we can make, starting with the boat pop-up. So you see all the pieces here that create this, and I do want to show you one thing. There's a die right here that looks kind of odd, and I'm like, what is that for? So if you look at this, it doesn't lay flat because there's so much going on here along the center of the card. So this piece cuts out these slots, and you can even see that kind of from the outside. It has to go through all the layers. But what this is for is to add a paper clip to keep this flat. And Lois Bach, who is on Karen's design team, came up with a great idea because if you just stick a paper clip in here, people aren't going to know what to do with it. So she gave them some instruction and kind of like demoed how the paper clip goes in down here. So when they get their card, they can slide the paper clip into these slots. And then this keeps the card flat. So a great little invention there for the paper clip. And then this will lie flat. So if you have another card that maybe has the same issue where there's so much in the center line, try this. If you have the cruise ship add-on, make those 2 little slots, get that die out, and you can put a paper clip in there. And I could get like a blue paper clip. There's all those multicolored paper clips if I want to blend it in a little more to my scene. The other new die that I have used on this is the waves. And there's 4 different styles of waves. So I did not want waves going all across my card because there's a lot of surface. So I decided to cut my waves out, adhere them together, and the die cut them out with an oval nesting die large enough so that my ship can sail on those waves. So that is the Ocean Edges, new in this collection. So there's 4 different styles of waves there that you can add to your water projects. And this is a pretty simple card. There's not a lot on here. I can have plenty of room to add more, but there's also a new stamp set, and that is what inspired kind of the style of this card. And we'll go back and look at the front of it. The enjoy the beauty of the world beyond the horizon is what was my inspiration for this card. And I've been lucky enough to have been on a couple cruises many years ago, and I was just struck by how beautiful and how huge the ocean was when you're standing at the front of the ship and all you can see is water and the sky. So I love this sentiment. The front of this then is supposed to be the ship here, so I took this black piece, which is from the cruise ship add-ons, as the front of my ship. Then I took a oval nesting die, a large one, just to make the ship, and then attach this. The blue is my ocean, and then obviously my sky. And I wanted to add a few other things just to add a little bit of interest because you don't quite get the same feeling looking at the front of a card that you would standing on the ship. So here I added the sun from the landscape scene, and then I needed a few birds, and I knew I had something like birds flying off in the distance. So I finally found them in the scarecrow die from Tim Holtz. There's other birds like this I know with other companies, but this is the one that I had. And if I didn't find this, I thought I could always take some bats and just trim off like the pointed parts of the bats, kind of reshape the bat body if that was all I could find. Two other dies that I use quite a bit in all of the samples that we're going to see are the rectangles and labels crosshatch die. I use these decorative labels on a number of projects. And then a nesting die, I have the ovals crosshatch that I've used on several of the cards as well. And the Bon Voyage and Smooth Sailing on the inside is also from this new stamp set that goes for the cruise ship add-ons. So love this, fun, great to have if you maybe know somebody who's going on a cruise. And we're going to pull this boat pop-up out again. And let me show you the next new die that coordinates with the boat pop-up. So now we've got some fishermen. That probably gives you a hint of what this one is all about. And we have a fishing boat now. We've got our fisherman, his fish. I use those waves again. I try not to make I use the calmer, hopefully, wave. So he's on a lake this time, surrounded by land. But let me show you the set that creates the fishing boat and a fish. So we've got all these pieces here that we add to the boat. And we've got our little motor here on the end, which actually moves, which is kind of neat. Now, I have to tell you, when I made my boat, I got my motor on the back of the boat, so I was doing good. And there's 3 little tabs that pop up that we hook everything else onto. And in my excitement, I attached the pail with the fish at the back of the boat instead of maybe the front of the boat. Works either way. But then my fisherman, for whatever reason, I was not thinking, and I have him facing the back of the boat. I could have flipped his seat around so he's at least facing the front of the boat. But I tell you that in that it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Whichever way you want to put your guy and your fish, it still works. So if you do something where you think, oh, that's backwards, no one's going to know. Don't throw it away, and don't think of it as a mistake. Just think of it as another way of doing it. So here's my fish on the pole, and you can see how that folds in. Now, I knew when I flip these guys around, when I look at this card here, you can see it's on this other side. So I took a glue dot because I'm slowly learning. You never know which way things may kind of stick out. And I put the glue dot on here and put it on the different sides, the front and back of the boat. Because if I put this over on this side here, I believe, it falls out of the side of the card because my card is a vertical instead of a horizontal A2 card. So if you're not sure, use a glue dot. Just move that fishing boat around, open and close your card, and you'll see where it's going to either stay in the card or pull out of the card, and then you need to just move it. But he was easy to create, or the boat was easy to create. A lot of fun. Again, this one has a stamp set too. And this is just called fishing. So a lot of good little fishing sentiments on here. And so I used the every day is a good day when you're fishing, a couple fishermen, and then have a really great retirement, because I know somebody who's going to be retiring before too long. Fishing will be a part of their retirement. And then there's also a birthday. So you could have a really great birthday, or fishing you a happy birthday or retirement. Some really great fishy sentiments on this. And you also notice that we've got some people on here. A couple guys. We could make this a fisher woman card as well. But let's talk about those people, because that is a really neat new die set. So I made a bunch of them up. Let me show you. They're called Paper People. Let's take a look at the packaging first. And I really studied this because I wanted to see all the different combinations of putting the hair and the clothes together. And so here's the back of the set. The great thing is this coordinates with some of the accessory pieces. But let's take a look at the people here. So I made up a bunch of people. I just sat and first went through all my scraps and cut a bunch of clothes out. And same thing with the various styles of hair. There's one body that we use here for both the men and the women, and the clothes can be, they're unisex. You can do men or women out of all the clothes and out of all the hairstyles. So I want to show you something here that when I first cut the body out, so here's our one body that's used for everything, and this is what it looks like. So I was sort of like, wow, that's kind of a different shaped body, because the hands always come in, and then the clothes, would go underneath the hands here, hands and arms. So when I first saw this guy, I thought, oh my gosh, I could make a bodybuilder. So this is just kind of to have some fun. If you need a bodybuilder, I don't know that I have all the muscle in the right place, but you get the idea. So just kind of fun, just because after I cut that shape out, I was sort of surprised at the shape of the body. But once you get the clothes on, you have no idea what's on underneath. So I, again, really looked at this to see how all the hairstyles were both for men and women. Same thing with the clothes, but get a pair of scissors and you can alter things a little bit. So we can trim off the pants to make shorts. I gave a couple haircuts. So if there's a style that's similar but not exactly what you need, get your scissors out and you can become the hairstylist. There's 2 styles of beards, 3 styles of mustaches. The hair, let's look at the hair. So like if we look at this guy's hair, it's the same as the top of this guy's or this lady's hair. Our pigtails are actually this piece over here, just turned on the side. You can see where the pigtail is. Same hairstyle, and then just the pigtails. So you can see how versatile it is to change these guys up and change their outfits. So then my next thing was, can I do something with those arms and reposition those arms? So that's what this bottom row is some new arm positions. We can just take the arms and tuck them behind the outfit. So we've got, our arms behind, or for maybe a guy, it looks like his hands are in his pocket. So here's a guy with one arm and hand in front, the other in back. Then I took my scissors, and this was really easy for the short sleeves shirts. I just cut up above where you don't see the cut and cut the arms off, and then I could position the arms however I want. One thing I learned is, if you're going to do that, cut up here so you have a long length of arm you can do more with. Don't just cut just barely above the sleeve hem there. Take that whole arm if you're going to cut it off, and then you've got more to work with. So this lady, I just pulled him out a little bit from the original position. I just pulled him out, and then on this lady, I actually swapped arms. So this arm is really this one. This arm is really this one, but it gives her like she's holding her hands out. This one, I just repositioned him again. This time I swapped them and then used this one. And this is where I needed the length, like she's waving. But if I just cut this off right here, I wouldn't have enough. I needed the length of that arm to make her look like she's waving. So then I thought I'm going to try it with this other shirt on. I did have to cut. So on this one, I would just cut from the inner edge of the sleeve almost to the outer edge and just bend her arm. To straighten it, I did have to cut all the way through and then just reattach it. So, play with it if you want them to be doing something a little different. You can do that. Certainly change the clothes around however you want. And then what I really love is that these work with a lot of the other sets that Karen has out as far as accessories and clothing. So I knew that they would work with tiny accessories 1, 2, and 3. They're all sized to use these. So if you have any of these sets, we'll use those some more. And then I also went and I looked at some others. I didn't go through everything, but I wanted to see what about the princess and mermaid hairstyles, dress there. And then the winter animals, has the hat and the scarf. Would any of those pieces work? So I cut those all out, and I have to tell you, it's like playing with your dress-up dolls. These are all those from all those sets we just looked at. And then I just went to town kind of seeing what would work. I'm going to start with the princess and the mermaid because I'm going to use this piece in a sample we're going to look at in a minute, but this dress, I could put this dress on there, and sure enough, that dress fits. The hairstyles work. The head of the mermaid is just a little bit smaller, but this will still work. It'll just sit a little higher on the head, so I have 2 more hairstyles here. All the hats work here if we need a football player. Look at how perfectly that fits on him. The purse, we always need a purse. Perfect size. Coming up, here's the graduation cap. I had more fun just playing with these. We'll have this guy hold this football because that's about the right size. Like if we wanted to make one of these guys like a pirate. This is from one of the accessory sets. I should probably put his eye patch on first before I put his hat on. And I just have little glue dots, those little mini glue dots, so that I can play with this. And then when I get it where I want it, I would actually glue it down. Let's see what else we have over here. Oh, the glasses. I thought the glasses were really cool. So there's 2 accessory sets with different style of glasses. So those work. You can see those. This is from the winter animal. So we've got a hat here that fits. And then I cut out the scarf. And if you have something that's like maybe too big, so like if I put this scarf on, you're like, oh, kind of big, I could still use the scarf, get it where I want it, and trim it down. Now, I'm going to move this lady's purse. What I was really excited about was using this for a belt. So I can put this on, like say on top of her skirt and trim it down if I want. I could also maybe use this for like a belt on the guy if I had the pants on the outside of his shirt. Trim off this little part that ties and trim this down. So you can alter things. Get your scissors out and alter things. The cowboy hat, let's see. Let's get somebody here with some legs showing. We'll use this gal. So I could use these on her as well. And if I wanted to do it over the pants, I could do that. And then just trim around the pant leg if it shows outside of the boot. But look at all of those great ways to use all the accessory dies and some of the other dies that have clothes on them. So this paper people set I know is going to be always close by on my desk. They're a great size and just so many ways we can use them and customize them. If we're looking to create our recipient again in a paper people, we can do that. Okay, so now that we've looked at our people, let's go on to another add-on set. And let me show you this, and then we'll look at the dies that made this. So a bucket of popcorn, and then on the inside we have the pop-up with the popcorn inside, and some stamp sets that go with this. So to make this, we start with the flower pot pop-up. This is an old die, but how great that we can use it again for something totally different, not flower related at all. So here's the popcorn add-on set, and you could really use this on its own. You can see here where we just made a bucket and then the popcorn. So I can make the front of this cover just with this die set if I don't want to pop it up. But if I do want the pop-up on the inside, that's when I need to use the flower pot pop-up so that I have the grid inside and the base of this to pop up. Easy. Love coloring all that popcorn. Some good sized popcorn there. And then, of course, it has its own stamp set as well. So some funny little popcorn sayings. This time I use the one that this may sound corny, but you make everything butter, or everything better, but everything butter. And all I could think is I know I've got some other popcorn movie type dies, so I will be using this again with those movie type dies. Great set a lot of fun. So there's another one that goes with this flower pop-up. And let me show you the card first, and then we'll talk about this. The other one is flower related. So I just made a really simple outside, and then we've got the flowers that pop up on the inside. So you may say, well, what's the difference between the two? There are some new flowers, but let me show you the new die set. It's the flower pot add-ons. And the first thing, and this is very similar to the Christmas tree we looked at, is this base. So instead of cutting into the card base, and we can barely see this die here, to create the little tab to hold on to our flower pot, this creates it in a piece that we can then glue in. So I don't have any holes on the outside of my card anymore because my pop-up, the little pop-up tab, is created on this separate little piece, just like the Christmas tree skirt was, and then we can glue it in. So I really, really like that. And then I don't have to worry about holes on the outside of my card base and covering those up. The other thing that this has in here are some new flowers. And there is a stem in here that I want to show you that's kind of neat. So when we look at this, it looks like it's kind of got upside down leaves. If we have some cardstock that, let's say it's white on the back and colored on the front, but we don't want the back of that white to show, well, this stem folds in half. We can glue it together, leave just a little bit of the base open so that after we attach our flower, we can just open this base up and glue it on. And I'll do it on the outside here if we can kind of see, and do this on the inside, but you can see how I can put it on either side. I know that's hard to see. Ooh, can't even probably see that. But I could do this on the inside and put one half on one side and one half on the other. And then the stem it's colored on both sides, and then I could just add my flower. So that's a neat idea for the stem. I did use some of the flowers from the original die set as well. And then there's a second add-on set called Bouquet Bits. And this is kind of neat. So we've got all these pieces. So if you ordered a bouquet of flowers from someone and had them sent, they always have that little card stuck in there on like a little pick. So that's kind of what this is, are picks with some decorative pieces. So I did use the one for my little get well soon, and it's just stuck in there, and it's the heart one. And then here's the little bird. So depending on what your theme was, you could add any of these, like a lollipop, some other hearts, a balloon, and a birdhouse, or there's just the straight pick. And I did cut this out in green, and I actually used that a lot for some of my flowers. You can see here, it's just like that pick piece, because I have enough leaves in here, and I thought I don't really need more leaves on every individual flower. That way I can get a lot of flowers in there, and I'm not so overwhelmed with leaves sticking out. And then I do think that makes it easier to keep things from catching on each other. So that base I also used in the popcorn card. So let's go back and look at that. So you can see this white base here. It's the same base that I used on this flower pot. So my tabs will connect to my box, whether I'm using it as a bucket or a flower pot. So a couple more ways to use an older die. Again, one with flowers, but with some new accessory pieces. And there is a stamp set here to use with the bouquet bits. So these are sized to use on this little sign here. And this will give you maybe some good ideas of how to use a bouquet of flowers. The Get Well Soon, I made this because I have sent flower cards to people in the hospital who could not have a real bouquet of flowers. So something like this would be ideal for them. They could have their own bouquet, but they can have it in their room because it isn't living flowers. And what would be a collection from Karen without one new pop-up die. So now we have the triple platform pop-up, and she explains the die that gave her the inspiration to create this one. So we have 3 pieces that pop up. So let's take a look at a card, and this can work in an A2 or slimline card. That's what I love. So this is a slimline card, 3.5 inches, which is the minimum width, and then this one I believe is 6. So we've got best wishes on your wedding day, and you can see the 3 different, let me turn it this way, you can kind of see it from behind, the 3 different platforms that pop up. And this one has like 2 legs, and this one has 2 legs. And if we look at the packaging, you can see where we have like 3 different label pieces, one on the back, and then these pieces lay across kind of like a platform there. But I wanted to try something different. I thought I'm going to make some of those people, and you can see how they're laying across like a platform between these 2 legs that pop up. Now, once again, I went back to the paper people die, and I thought, I know I have a wedding dress, and let's see if I can make that work. So I pulled out the wedding charms. Here's the dress, here's the tux, and yes, I did make it work. Now, when I did the dress, it's a little skinny. Even though that body's skinny, it's a little skinny, and I kind of needed something underneath my wedding dress. And that's when I went back and I pulled out the mermaid body, because I just wanted the top half. And I'm just going to put it on here so you can kind of see. It served kind of as a tank top. And then I put the wedding dress on top, because the wedding dress is even more narrow than this. But again, you can alter these pieces to make it work. For the guy, the tux is a lot narrower than like the legs were, and his arms. So I did have to kind of cut this apart. I put the tux on. I had to basically cut the arms off totally, and all I needed was the hands so I could glue those back on. And the legs, if I lay this down here, were wider than the tux. So I just basically cut him off here and then just cut the feet off so I could attach some shoes. So again, there's always a way to alter these guys if you want to dress them with something from a previous die. The other pieces that I used, wedding charms had quite a few. So I've got my champagne glasses, my ring. The base piece here is from the new triple platform pop-up. And then for the words, best wishes, and the rings are on the outside. On your comes from word set 18 connectors. And then wedding day comes from the word set 12 anniversary. So I just, again, went through my die sets and pulled out what worked for my card. And then let me show you one more, because I love these arms, and I'm like, how can I use them differently than just as a platform like this? So the last one I have to share with you today is more of an outer space card, but I can take advantage of all of those little arms separately. So instead of having a piece that lays across, I just am using all of these little arms separately. So I've got 4 arms, and then I put this guy here kind of in the middle. I use the back for my spaceship, and I'm only gluing things down on one side. If I glued it on this whole back tab, I would have to fold whatever's attached to it in half, and that's how this piece is. But if you just glue to one side or the other, it doesn't matter, and just make sure it closes without catching on anything, you've got it made. One thing I am doing is making up the mechanical piece and just putting it in a piece of cardstock. So when I wanted to see if this spaceship would fit, I could use a glue dot and put it here see which way it's going to fold, and like it was longer than this card. So I knew I was going to have something more than 3.5 inches. But then I can kind of test things out before I make the whole card, use my good cardstock, and then find out something doesn't work. So I've been doing this, and then I just keep this in with the die set so I can test out some ideas before I cut everything out and put it together, only to find out, I have a little problem. So that gives you an idea of some of the new dies, or all of the new dies from Karen's latest release. We'll obviously be playing with everything again here, because I have thought of other dies. I'm like, oh, I could combine this with that. I mean, just some wonderful, wonderful ideas from Karen. And with all this cold weather that we're having, it's a great time to sit and play and make some new cards that we can use for upcoming events for this year. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again in a future video.